Hello and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. I'm Captain Jeff, your host. Broadcasting live this week from Studio 356 at the Doubletree Hotel, used to be the Indigo, in beautiful Western New York, Buffalo, where Western New York meets the east end of Lake Erie. And so we have a great show coming up, I hope. So make sure your seatbelt is fastened, sit back and relax. Flight 32 will be pushing back here momentarily. As I said, I am in New York City. I'm not in New York City. Why do I keep doing that? I'm in the state of New York, the Empire State. And I'm also videotaping this one again, video recording this one. And you can see that if you want on YouTube, my YouTube channel, which is Captain Jeff. Just do search there, and I'll have a link in the show notes. And I'm also enjoying a cup of Wolfgang Puck coffee in my little special coffee maker in my room. And my throat's a little sore for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, it's not allergy season, is it? I didn't think it was. But anyway, hello and welcome back to the show. Got a lot of things to talk about as usual, so let's just dive right in. Oh, if you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see that I really went to great pains to dress up for this show. I'm wearing my undershirt that I wear underneath my uniform. My uniform shirt, and basically that's because I got in a couple hours ago, 3 hours ago I think, and started working on getting prepared for this show. So hopefully it'll show, so to speak. All right, first thing we'll talk about today is some feedback that I received from, let's see here, there we go, from Kelly Slater in the land down under in Australia. And Kelly sent me this via the feedback address, which is feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. She writes, "Hi Captain Jeff, another gem found on the internet that I thought you'd like. I'm amazed every day at the things I find on there. I still have to catch up on your last 2 podcasts, but am driving to Canberra from Sydney tomorrow, a 4-hour drive, so we'll listen to them then." And then she provides me a link, and we'll talk about that in a second. Hope you're well. Kelly from Australia. Okay, so I looked at the link, and basically it's this dude that ended up, let's see where we are here. Okay, his name is Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell is a 62-year-old self-confessed nerd from Oregon, USA. He spent the last 10 years converting a 727-200 passenger jet into his dream home. And I do have a little bit of audio, and we might want to listen to just a taste of this here.
Welcome to my future home.
It's pulling down the stairs.
It's a bird that was meant to fly, of course. We're inside the cabin of a Boeing 727-200. This is my functional bathroom. 2 others are waiting, but this one works. It's small, but I'm small.
Okay, in the link that I'll provide in the show notes, he is giving a tour to some news outlet. Anyway, and I'll also have a link to the article on the web, and has some pictures there, and also a link to his site, which is airplanehome.com. And the article goes on to say, "We've seen airplanes converted into living space before, like the 747 Jumbo Jet Hostel in Stockholm, or the Boeing 707 Plane Hotel of Costa Rica, but Bruce Campbell's work is most impressive, or the most impressive we've ever seen, because he did it all by himself. The building and services and environmental engineer bought the old 727-200 for $100,000 and spent at least another $100,000 on logistics costs, like having it moved from the airport to his home and temporarily removing the wings and tail. Anyway, so he goes into more detail about that on his airplanehome.com site. And some great pictures here of the jet. Now, I actually lived 10 years, well, not exactly consecutive 10 years of my life, but I spent 10 years of my more than 23 in the major airline world flying this beautiful airplane, the 727-200 model, probably second only to the Lockheed L-1011 TriStar as far as the best airplane I've ever flown. That 727 was some beautiful jet, and I really miss it. Great hand-flying airplane. Anyway, I spent a lot of time on it, but I didn't live on it, per se. I didn't sleep on it like this guy is. Anyway, so check out the links to the story and the video. I guess it was CNN that went out there and interviewed him in Oregon about this kind of a strange place to live. So thanks, Kelly, for sending that to me via Airline Pilot Guy. Excuse me, feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. All right, so now I'm going to get back over here to my Evernote, my show notes, I guess you could say. This is something I meant to talk about on the last show, didn't get a chance to because we ran out of time. Cyber attack concerns raised over Boeing 787 chip's backdoor. Researchers claim that a chip used in military systems and civilian aircraft has a built-in function that could let in hackers. This is from Charles Arthur from theguardian.co.uk. Two Cambridge experts have discovered a backdoor in a computer chip used in military systems and aircraft such as the Boeing 787 that could allow the chip to be taken over via the internet. The discovery will heighten concerns about the risks of cyber attacks on sensitive installations, coming on the heels of the discovery this week of the Flamer virus, which had been attacking computer systems in Iran, Syria, and Saudi Arabia. In a paper that has been published in a draft form online and seen by The Guardian, researchers Sergei Skoratbogotov of Cambridge, it's probably not even close, I tried, of Cambridge University and Chris Woods of Quo Vadis Labs say that they have discovered a method that a hacker can use to connect to the terminals of a chip made by Actel, a U.S. manufacturer. An attacker can disable all the security on the chip, reprogram cryptographic and access keys, or permanently damage the device. So, interesting. Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about the Flamer virus. I think kind of related to Stuxnet, or maybe Stuxnet was the, I think I'm saying that right. You hackers out there, let me know. Was the first one to attack, there's a term used for the things that the type of computer systems and types of chips that it attacks, but basically computers that control machines. And the U.S. government and the Israeli government got together several years ago, first authorized by George Bush, President George Bush, back in, I think, 2006? Anyway, many, many years ago, authorized the development of this virus that we were just hearing about in the last week or two, that was used to basically hack the computer control systems of the centrifuges in Iraq, and it basically caused them to just completely, go up, make themselves blow apart, go out of control, and destroy themselves. So, anyway, according to these two researchers, a chip that's used in these systems, including the 787, could actually be hacked. Can you imagine that? You're flying along and all of a sudden the airplane just starts doing weird things? Not a good thing. So hopefully they'll be able to figure out a way to close up that potential vulnerability in the chips. Okay, this was sent to me by, Mike Rogers, and he sent this, he's MP Rogers on Twitter, and he sent this to my @Airline Pilot Guy, my Twitter identity. And the article is from the middle seat in the Wall Street Journal online. And the article is entitled, How Airlines Spend Your Airfare. Very interesting article, and I'm going to use a graphic that was in the article that was prepared. And so I'm waiting for my browser, Chrome browser, to show up here. I guess I must be stressing my computer system to the limit. It's just not reacting very quickly. So, while we wait, let me take a sip of coffee. Okay, good. Feels good in my throat. Here we go. Decoding a flight. In a hypothetical flight with 100 passengers, 100 passengers, mind you, it takes fares and fees from 99 seats to cover all costs. So it has a little graphic, like one of those diagrams of airline seats that you see when you're choosing your seat when you go fly somewhere. And let's see, the number one cost at this time anyway, based on the cost of fuel, is fuel. 29 of the 100 seats, so 29%, goes to pay for the cost of the fuel for a typical flight. The next largest category is salaries. So salaries for the pilots, flight attendants, ground workers, mechanics, and I guess everybody at the airline is a part of this. So 20 of the seats for a typical 100 passenger flight pay for the cost of salaries. Next level or next breakdown is ownership costs. Now I'm not sure what ownership costs are. Maybe capital outlay, buildings, hangars, airplanes themselves. Yeah, a lot of the airline industry is a capital-intensive industry, that's for sure. So 16 seats would pay for the cost of ownership. 14 seats would pay for government fees and taxes. 11 seats for maintenance, and 9 for other. I'm not sure what other means. But that's what that category is called. And so now if we add everything up, fuel, salaries, ownership costs, maintenance, government fees, etc., that totals up to about 99 seats, which leaves just one seat of that 100 passenger flight to pay for, or is profit. So an average of $146 fare for a domestic flight. Basically the average profit for a 100 passenger flight, $146. Wow, that's an eye-opener. Yeah, not a very, if you want to go into business, I would not recommend going into the airline business because apparently not a big profit margin there. You may have heard about this. This was, about 2-3 weeks ago in Toronto, Canada. During or shortly after takeoff, an Air Canada 777 taking off from Toronto's Pearson International Airport, developed serious engine trouble, which caused the liberation of several pieces of metal. The liberation of several pieces of metal and led to a shutdown of its right engine. While several cars on the ground were damaged, no one on the ground was injured. That's good. After dumping excess fuel, the flight crew returned safely to the airport about 90 minutes after taking off. None of the 318 passengers and 16 crew members were injured. Canadian investigators who interviewed the pilot were told that there was a loud bang from one of the engines when the aircraft was about 1,000 feet above the ground. Several witnesses near the airport also heard an exceptionally loud takeoff and noticed either smoke, flames, or debris coming out of one of the engines. Several pieces of metal from the right engine came down in Mississauga, a suburb of Toronto that is adjacent to the airport. At least 4 vehicles at a gas station were hit and damaged by debris, including one car that had its rear window smashed. One witness stated that the debris was too hot to touch. There's a picture here in this article, somebody holding a good chunk of metal in their hand. It takes up most of the palm of the hand and covering up some of the fingers as well. So I'd say maybe 4 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and I'm not sure the thickness on that. Anyway, so looks like it was the turbine section that let loose. They did some inspection of the front part of the engine and didn't notice any failure of the blades in the front or compressor section, so they kind of ruled out a bird strike. And apparently the turbine section just let loose for some reason. So I'm going to take another sip of coffee here. Thank you. So anyway, that was interesting. Feedback from Chris in Boston. Okay, Chris sent me some more feedback here at feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. He writes to me, the Boston media is making a big deal about this one today. And I wrote back to him and said, thanks, I'll check it out. And then he gave me a link. And let me go over here to my browser. Hopefully it won't take too long this time. And I'll try to find the article quickly. No, of course I don't have that article there. I just need to be better organized, don't I? One of you organizational gurus need to contact me. Help me with this stuff. Okay. Well, basically, what happened here was a Delta flight, an Airbus coming in from, I believe, LaGuardia, one of the shuttle flights, was heading up to Boston, and it was on final. And in the meantime, a lot of activity happening on the ground at Boston Logan International Airport. One of the airplanes involved here was taxiing out and apparently intruded upon the landing runway for the Delta flight, the shuttle flight, and caused the Delta shuttle flight to go around. Not a big deal, really. That happens to us. Let me see, if I had to venture a guess how many times I have to do that per year, probably, well, maybe once a year. And that can be for a variety of reasons. It could be a case like this where an airplane missed the whole short line and kind of encroached upon the runway. And so even though it would have been safe to land, you can't, because anytime more than one airplane is occupying a runway, and I'm talking about takeoff right now, and one coming in for landing, you can't do that. There are cases where one airplane can actually still be on the runway in the middle of a takeoff roll, and another airplane could be put into position and hold, and actually be cleared for takeoff. That happened to me earlier today. Leaving Atlanta, I got a takeoff clearance, and a Southwest jet was still on the runway and was just about to rotate when I got my takeoff clearance. But there are some parameters that air traffic controllers have that allows them to do that. But when you're landing, anybody on your runway is a no-no, and you can't land. Even if they're at the very end of the runway, like 2 miles down the runway, you still can't do it. And so that's what happened here. So let me play a little excerpt of a recording from the media, and you'll see how scary this sounded, how so many people just about lost their lives. So here we go.
We were so close to landing that I knew there was some kind of emergency.
Ready to land, and then a sudden jolt. A plane bound for Logan forced to climb back into the sky in a hurry. Good evening, I'm Mark Ackerman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria Stefanos. That flight feet away from the runway when another plane suddenly gets right in the way. This is a story you saw first here on Fox. Our Ted Daniel is here now with details. Ted.
Maria and Mark, the incident happened late this afternoon at Logan. It involved a Delta flight out of LaGuardia that was landing and another flight on the ground that was getting ready to take off. The Delta plane was just moments from touching down when the pilot was ordered to pull up. According to the FAA, the plane on the ground crossed the runway without permission. Thankfully, an air traffic controller caught it just in time.
Just in time.
American 349, Roger. Go around, Delta 1386, go around runway 48.
An air traffic controller at Boston Logan Airport makes a quick and possibly life-saving call, ordering a Delta plane similar to this one to abort landing at the last second and quickly climb back into the air.
American 349, Roger. Go around, Delta 1386, go around runway 48. Delta 1386, on the go.
We were within feet of the runway when suddenly the pilot pulled up, and we climbed back up and circled around.
Jessica Phone of Centerville was on the Delta flight. She says at first passengers didn't know what was going on.
My neighbor and I turned to each other and looked at each other in panic and said, "What was that?"
Here's what happened. Delta Flight 1386 was on its final approach to land on runway 4 right, when according to the FAA, a Boeing 737 waiting for takeoff crossed onto the active runway without authorization. American Airlines confirms it was one of theirs. Flight 349 heading to Dallas with 144 passengers on board. The tower recordings indicate the American pilot was told to stop before the runway or hold short. just seconds before.
349 Buster, hold short of runway 4 right. Are you ready to go right out?
Hold short of 4 right. We'll be ready in about 1 minute. 349.
American 349, Roger. Stop. Go around, Delta 1386, go around runway 4 right.
As the Delta flight was attempting a second landing, Jessica phones as the pilot got on the PA system and explained they were just involved in a close call. As she was leaving the plane, she says she stuck her head in the cockpit and asked just how close it really was.
And I asked him how close we came, and he said we were within 300 feet.
The FAA has launched an investigation into the runway incursion. Its procedure when anything like this happens. In an email, American Airlines says it has also launched an investigation of its own. From our control room, Ted Daniel, Fox 25 News. Ted,
Thank you, Ted. Okay, now I pulled up the.
Wait, 1-4.
Oh, sorry.
Go to 4 right via
Let me
1-4.
start this over. I didn't mean to trigger that yet. I went to one of my favorite sites, liveatc.net, and looked up the ATC recordings for this incident. And this is what I found. And I did compress. I took a couple little sections out that really didn't have any bearing on our discussion of this. And I compressed it a little bit so that it wouldn't take too long. And let's listen.
Wait, 1-4. Go to 4 right via 1-4, American 349.
Okay, now, for those of you who fly in and out of Boston, especially pilots I'm talking to, you know that that's kind of unusual, at least for me in my experience. I fly in and out of Boston quite often, and I don't recall ever approaching runway 4 right via runway 14. And runway 14, I don't know how long ago they built that, but maybe a couple of years ago. It's a small 5,000-foot strip or runway that's in the southernmost portion of the airport property, and so it's 5,000 feet long and 100 feet wide. And I guess they use it for, like, general aviation, or perhaps some of the air service out to Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, that kind of thing. Anyway, it's not the normal way to taxi to runway 4 right, but it is one of the ways that you can get to 4 right. And that's important to note right there. So let me resume the tape. Resume the tape.
Air 1, contact Boston, departure. Come on, bye-bye. Bye-bye. American 1535, runway 9 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 9, American 1535.
Mercury 7324, Boston, caution, make turbulence, departing Boeing 757, traffic 4 miles, final flip crossing runway, runway 9, line up and wait.
On off way 9, Mercury 7324.
At 1700, turn left at Romeo, hold short of runway 4 left.
Left at Romeo, hold short of 4 left.
Okay, that's somebody who just landed and is clearing the runway. There is a airplane on 4 left on a 4-mile final and telling people to